to extend been privileged to extend my warm welcome to all for joining us into this session. We'll go ahead within 5 minutes. I welcome you all to the day 12 of 15 days MERN Stack Bootcamp organized by Geeks for Geeks Student Chapter Lovely Professional University in collaboration with SkillsWell. Well, on this note, let's have some sneak peeks from the last session that we have had. And yeah, how can we forget your assignment task? So we saw the advancements in the sign up page, got started with the login page, had hands-on design principles, navigated the web pages by ensuring the synchronization and smooth legitimization. Coming across your tasks for the day, you were assigned to design a sign-up page, sign-in page, and design a home page using HTML and CSS for our Zomato clone. Now, without any further ado, I take the opportunity to introduce our mentor. Please welcome Mr. S.K. Azharuddin. He is not only a dedicated, resourceful professional educator, a full stack developer, a freelancer, and a podcaster. I welcome you, sir. Over to you.
Hey, thank you so much, Tanvi, for the great introduction. Let's move forward with some queries as we do. Okay, so we have seen many of the students have already submitted their task, but most of you have not. But I have no idea why. Maybe as I have interacted with few of the students and they are like they have just started HTML and CSS, and you guys do not have enough grasp to move forward and create on your own, like code by yourself. And most of you are literally missing it because as I have seen, like most of you are like you have learned HTML and CSS and basic JavaScript, and now you are moving forward to learn MERN stack and being full stack developer, right? That's sounding pretty much shortcut, and in this industry and nowhere else shortcut does not exist. So if you are looking forward to grow your career, so take time, don't hurry, take time, and like get the knowledge in the deeper way first, and then get your hands on it, and then make some projects on it. Maybe if you have learned HTML and CSS and basic JavaScript first, then create at least 3 to 4 projects and more. If you are creating more, that's good for you. So create some projects so your hands and your brain should be synchronized with the code, like when which code you should be writing on. And coding is not in the theory. Like if you're understanding the theory, it's absolutely fine, but until you code by yourself, you are not going to understand even a single syntax here. So you have to code by yourself. If you have already learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript basic and looking forward to be for full stack developer, it's shortcut. Don't do this. Take your time. And since we have already came across this boot camp and now we are about to end, so just complete it and then go back to your backstage and then learn, create some projects for on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript first, and then again come back here or maybe somewhere else and learn from basic the code, React and Node and so on. But before this, just create your make your root stronger first, and HTML and CSS and majorly the JavaScript, the vanilla JavaScript, the core JavaScript is the true core for the true fundamental for your this full stack based on MERN or MEAN or whatsoever you are going forward to, because all of these fundamentals belong to JavaScript. And if you're not if you're not a mature JavaScript developer, you are going to get a lot of bug, and you're going to stuck at a time. So of course we don't want that. So get those clear first and get yourself confident on it and then move forward. Then that would be a true roadmap for you guys. Shakib, what you're asking, please, how do we submit? Okay, as we had already discussed, so it's not about submitting your entire code, but just throw it on the Telegram group, and you can also share on the Instagram story and tag Geeks for Geeks, Skill Valley, and me right there. And you can mostly the preferable one is the sharing on the Telegram group. And some of the student already did, like Gauri and Jagreet. Jagreet did very well on this because he actually cloned the Zomato homepage and then he did it. So his experience to work here. But now tomorrow we are moving forward, and in this weekend I have cleaned a bit of our code, and then let me just show you along the side. And again, till now, till we're discussing, if you have any question on your mind, you can just put it on the comment section. We can take it up right away. Okay. So I have cleaned a lot of code, and we have also customized a bit. And again, we are going forward with one by one. So your task was to, this is not the right way of doing it. Okay. So I guess we have closed our clone. Here we go with the clone. And this is not the one. We have to start the movement. Okay, so till now we are discussing here, we can take forward to your queries if you have any, and then again, those things are going to take over in the entire class. Okay, this is going to handle here. And here we go. Short of this. Looks perfect. Okay. Okay, so we have cleaned a lot of code and also customized a bit. So let's move forward and go through what we have customized and how it's actually working. So your task was to create, customize the login and the sign up page, and also add the register restaurant page. So let's move forward and see what we have done here. Let me open the clone really quick. Not this one. This one. Okay. I'm going to start. So our project is going to open up. Until then, let me go through the changes that we did. So in our app. Okay, so we have moved our state provider and reducer to our config. So let me delete this reducer and state provider. So we are handling all the configuration for the projects right here. And I know all of these we have not created. We are going through all of these one by one. That's what we are doing here. And then again, we are going to take forward. So in reducer, the changes was only one that I had added only one change, which is like previously we had two action type, which was like login and logout. But now we had added only one, which would be the set user. And if the user is logging in, then we are going to send the payload as an user. We are not sending payload, we are sending the entire user object, and we are just saving it to the user. And if the user is logging out, or maybe if there is something wrong, or user needs to be deleted or something, then again we are setting the set user to user null. We are going to go through that, but just to understand that what reducer is doing here, we have customized a bit. And again, here we haven't changed a bit. These are same as we had the state provider, and we'll go through more. But firstly, let's go to our application. So this is our application, and this looks something like. Okay, so welcome restaurant. Firstly, let me just log out to this. So again, we are going to go through that, but for now, let's just clear this and go to our console. Maybe we can just okay, refresh. Okay, so now we have this login page, and let's go through the UI first, and then we can move forward. So I have just added few like shadows and sort of a card kind of a feel, and there is an icon and the heading and so on. And suppose if the user doesn't have any account and they want to sign up, so they can go to the sign up page, and the sign up has the user sign up page, if you see here, that we had already created, but I have just customized the UI a bit. And then if you have already, if their account is already there, then they can just go to login, or if register your restaurant. I guess I have mistake anyways. So if they want to register your restaurant, then they can go to the restaurant, and here we go with the restaurant sign up page. And then again with this, they can also sign up their restaurant and so on. So suppose for now, let's just go to the login page and log in with our data. So I have added few data in our database, as in sign up with certain users. So let's see what user do we had here. Okay, so let's go to the user, and we have user like cafe, which is actually a restaurant user, which is 1111, and the role is one. So one we are about to assign to the restaurant user, and like the restaurant owners basically. And then the admin is this, we admin phone number is 999, and all the users are 12345. No, all the user credentials are the same as phone number, and the admin is 2, and the general user as normal user is Ayush, whose user is 0. Now let's take a bit forward and let's demonstrate how we have integrated all this. So suppose if we are going to log in with the general user, log in, server error, of course, because we are not running our server for now. So let's run our server really quick. Start. We are going to go through all of these codes, but let's just understand how it is working. And again, this is just a short of notification. Again, we are going to move forward to learn this also. So if there is something wrong, so the error would be popped up something like this toaster. Okay, so our server is now running. Now let's log in and welcome Ayush. So now if you notice here, what do we have is user, right? Slash user. Now let's log out, and to log this out, I haven't added the logout functionality yet. So for this, what we can do is just wherever we are storing our token, again, we are going to understand all of this stuff. But for now, let me just clear it up in a while, and that's it. So if there is no token, we are going forward to the login page again. And if we just log in with the cafe, right? This is the restaurant one, the restaurant credential. And then let's log in, and then immediately it logs into the restaurant page, right? And if you see, the router is something like slash restaurant. And and the admin, if suppose if you are trying to log with the admin credential, it should redirect to the admin, right? Of course, we are going to come up with the functionalities, how it is happening, but for now, let's just use it. And before going to the admin page, let's also understand how this is working. Like suppose for now we have auth slash login, right? And let's go to the user page app. Okay, so the user route is now protected. If anyone is trying to go to the user route or somewhere else, so we are redirecting the user to the login page, because they are not logged in and they are not authenticated to we use those applications. So these are the mobile view basically. So now let's log in with the admin, which is 9, login, and now hello login, successfully login. Again, we are going to create all of this, and then this login page, right? So how all of these are working. So let's take a bit forward, and I want you to make your note on this, because again, all of these functionalities we have already demonstrated, but how, like suppose we have demonstrated this is A, this is B, this is C. Now how we have aligned all of this all together, even that we have demonstrated, but now I have just styled a bit. Like suppose we are going to show, like suppose routes, we have already demonstrated how we are adding this routes. Like suppose auth and this, and if there is auth, then which component should be load. If there is something like index, uh, don't come to the star now, we are going to move forward. So if there is like index, then which one should it take forward, and in that route what we are going to do with, right? So we have just added all of these things, and let's quickly go through all of these, and I want you to take note on this. So it would be really great for you to go through next time if you're creating on your own. So now in the application, if we see, so there is something called dispatch, right? So and of course we are also using navigate, right? And you know what dispatch does? It literally communicate with our global variable. And in the user and the use effect, what we use in the use effect, suppose every time the application is getting launched, this functionalities would work, right? And what is it calling? It's calling the logged user, a function which is current user. Let's go to the current user function and see what it is actually doing. So in current user, which I have added in the auth service, so in current user, this is the function, and what is it doing? It's simply asking for the token of from local storage. So this is the local storage. I'm sure if you have worked with JavaScript, so this is how how we interact with local storage, and this has those CRUD operation like get item, set item, remove item. So again, the CRUD operation, of course, there. And if you want to clear all of the local storage, then again you can clear it, and so on. So for now, we are just asking for token, like if for this particular application in the local storage, is there any token? Like suppose here, if you see, so for this particular application, which is this, the domain is this, there is something called token, right? And the value is this token. Now, from where is it coming on? Again, we'll go through that while we are logging in. So we are just asking for now, we are just covering this application. So we are just understanding that how it is working. In application, what is it? So in this current user, we have used it in a multiple places. So that's why we are demonstrating this. So suppose in this token, we are getting like after logging in from the backend, we are sending a sort of a JWT token, right? That we already had discussed on. So we are just having this, suppose while logging in, we are saving that token to the local storage. And now we are just asking for that token. If the token is not there, generate return null means the current user does not exist. And if the token exists, then again, we are using this JWT, like JSON web token, and this verify, you already know this, how do we use it? And then while verifying, we are just passing this token and this secret. You know what the secret is? So here we have added the same secret that we have used in our backend. And of course, this is an environment variable now because we don't want to again close this to the front end. So now, where is it? So in all services, so we are just asking for this, and the decoded version would be returned. Suppose if the token is valid, then it will return the user object which we are using to create that user, right? While creating that token. And if something goes wrong, then it will go to the error and then again return null. So basically, if current user means if the user has a token in their local storage, then it will decrypt that token and return that user object, like literally that user object. And if the token, if the token does not exist, then it will return null. So in application, what we are doing, so log the user, and now if the user does not exist, then dispatch the application type set user, as we had already discussed, and we are sending this user to be null. So the user is null. Now in the global variable, the user is null. So we are just indicating the same way, and navigate to the auth login. So here we are handling the entire application. So in the entire application, if the user does not exist, like if the user is not logged in, like if there is no token or if the token is not valid, then just simply redirect that user to the login page, because we don't want to move forward with that user and it's happening synchronously. So now and else, suppose if the logged user does not exist, right? And what if the user exists, like there is a token and the token is valid? Then simply dispatch the token, simply set the token, set the user for the global variable by using dispatch, and save this logged user. Again, I know it's becoming a bit more conflict here, but by yourself, if you just go to the code, and this is how it's working. So it's a simple code in use effect. We are just handling this. If the user is logged in, then set the user, and in the global variable, set the user object. And if the user is does not logged in, then you set the user null and redirect the user to the auth login page. That's it. So we have already used this navigate. So this is a hook from a React router DOM, and we can use this navigate to and pass the route in the param. It will just redirect the user to there. So that's all for this, right? And the functionalities. And then if we look forward and see what in the route we are doing. So this is a toaster component. We'll come forward to this, but for now, the overall global stuff, functionalities we need to understand. So in routes, what are we doing? Now let's see. In routes, we define the multiple routes, right? And if you go to the documentation of React router, which is this, right? Documentation. I need to go to the, oh, I don't really have just resourced it. Okay, let's see. Now here, they have multiple routes, right? So a browser route we have, or we are already covering this in the index, right? In the index, we have already covered this browser router. And now here, what we are doing, so we are covering this with routes, and in the routes, we are defining all the routes, right? Now note, if this is index and there is a sort of indentation right here, it is just not in the same streamline, there is a sort of indentation, and this indentation means this is on all these routes are under this route, right? So now if you're defining this routes under this route, so means under this home page, right? So in this so this is we are defining then application, and application is this, and here we are defining index. So in this home page, this index is the same as we define here. Like there is just empty slash, and the same way we define index. Again, in our code, we wrote the same thing, but what we want to see is something like come on, get me some code related to stars. Okay. What if we just look forward to migrate something? Okay, so everything is in the documentation, but it's taking time to search on this. So I'm just going to explain with our code only. So what this star defines, the star is something like, suppose this, right? This is the home page, slash is the home page. And after this slash, whatever comes along needs to go through, whatever comes along should render this secure app. Again, we are going to see what is secured app, but let's just understand here for now. And this slash auth slash whatever comes along need to load this auth component. So consider this two is a component, and this star is like everything else, like this route, and after this auth, everything else. Like suppose here, if there is admin, like maybe everything else mean auth slash maybe login, or maybe sign up, or anything else, like just anything else would go to the same page. And again, this is redirecting. Of course, we have logged in. So again, we are going to move forward and see what auth defines. So for now, consider this star as in anything after this static route. And we have shifted this index route below because let's understand the component first, then we are going to come back here and explain why is it so. So suppose this auth route, let's understand the auth route first. So in auth route, render this component, and let's see what is this component. Goodness. So there is a lot of things are happening. Like in this route, there is a lot of things. Firstly, let's understand this one, routes. So we are defining routes here. Under this route, there are multiple routes. And in this particular route, we are defining a component, and that component would have multiple routes. Now let's just understand. there is a module, right, called authentication. And in that authentication, there would be multiple route, like suppose login, sign up, forget password, and so on, right? And we want to define all those sub routes for that authentication to somewhere else because we want to optimize our code base. So we defined all those, login, sign up, and registers restaurant, all those all together in somewhere else. But if we just defined here and we just define all this route, not the routes considered, we are coming to this public route for sure. But for now, let's just understand this. So if we just define this multiple route without routes, it actually I tried, it was not taking that place. Then it said we need to use route if we are rendering any component and that component carries multiple routes, then we need to wrap that components with routes again. Yes. So if in any particular route we are rendering any component, and that component, if that component would have multiple routes, so even here we have to wrap all this route with this routes the same way we did in our application. So again, this route cannot be alone rendered. If we are wrapping this in a component, this should be wrapped with the routes. So here what we have defined, let's see. So now let's move forward and see what is public routes. So if we go to our public route, so we again went back to this authentication service. So what this public route says. So this says get the current user first. So this current user would get what? If any user is logged in, then it will get that user. If the user does not logged in, then it will just return null, right? So if the user is logged in, then navigate him to the or her, navigate the user to the home page. Again, if the user is logged in, navigate to the home page. And again here, and else just return children. And what is this children? You remember we had this on the very first class of React. So if we are defining any component like this from opening tag and closing tag, and underneath that particular component, anything else goes to the children. We call it children. So this is a predefined React property. We call it children. So just render the children. So again, this public route is literally covering the authentication route not to visit if the user is logged in. So if the current user is there, then uh, we are redirecting them to the home page, else children. Like if the user does not exist, then we are allowing them to go to the login and sign up route and so on, right? So this is again the security ways, because if the user is logged in, we don't want them to log in again, right? So that is the standard of the app. That should be the standard of the application. Now, this syntax is a bit different than this syntax right here, navigate, right? But now let's me explain. So now in React Router DOM, to navigate any user from one place to another place, they have two method. The first one is the hook. We can use this in any functionalities. Now remember, this is the functionalities. We are not rendering in any HTML component, right? In the component sector, basically, we are not returning it. We are calculating something here, right? In the function. So here, if we are based on certain calculation, if we are redirecting the user, then we'll be using this hook, this navigate hook. And if we are rendering, now suppose this in this public cloud, where this public cloud defines here, we are returning this, right? So here, if we are returning this, then we are going to use this navigate component. So there are two type of navigating, there are two method to navigate the user from React Router DOM. The first one is the use navigate hook, and the second one is the navigate router. And where do we use navigate hook? In the method, right? And where do we use this navigate component? In the component, where we are literally returning something. Then this navigate component will return to this, the same way we would have used the navigate. Now here is something different, which called replace. So why are we using this replace? So this replace is something like, suppose we have just logged in, right? Now if we just go back, see, it is not going to go back. Now it is not going to go back, but beginning it was loading something. So this is simply, suppose we are in the same page right now. If we just go back, then there is a sort of history, right? that what are we doing. Now suppose if in this history we don't want to add something in the history stack, like suppose if the user is now from the login page, we have redirected the user to the home page. Now if the user taps on back, if the user try to go back, what would happen? They would again go back to the login page, right? So this is the standardized usage. From the login page, we are not going to navigate the user to the home page. We replace that URL. We replace this particular URL so that if the user goes back, they don't get back to the login page again. So we replace it again. This is one of the standardized application that you have to create on your own when you will be creating. Then there's this certain standardized that you have to follow. So we do not redirect, we do not, while, okay, so while redirecting a user from successful login page to the home page, we do not add anything on the history stack. We redirect the user to the home page. Getting it? We redirect the user to the home page by replacing the URL, not adding anything on the stack. So again, this is a short of a demonstrate we just have seen. And then this is the public route. So in this, if the user does exist, so we are wrapping this in the auth routes. So if here this route, this component only first check that if the user exists, then they won't allow to render any. If you're trying to go to the login or sign up or what so on, they won't allow you. This public route is literally securing this authentication routes and checking if the user exists. They would get you back to the home page, not any login or sign up page. And the same way we are using somewhere else. Where are we using? So if we see the another app, this one, the secure app. So in the secure app, we are using the same way. Let's go to check our secure app. So in secure app, we are using secure route. So in secure route, if you see, so in the secure route, if we see, one moment. Okay. Where's my stack? Perfect. Okay, so now here also we have added the same secure route, but opposite. Now here for public route, what we'll be doing, if the user exists, then navigate the user to the home page, else render children. And in secure route, if the user exists, then render the children, else navigate to the login page, simply auth.login, auth/login, and that's all we are doing. So this is the simple way we are just, and this is a sort of middle, we can call it also middleware, but this is a sort of secured component that we are just adding, uh, like a custom route, we can call it a custom route wrapper, where we are just handling this sort of, authentication, and then we are letting the user use it. So this secured app is literally securing this our entire application first, and then it is letting you move forward. So, and the secondly, now in this, so if we go to the auth again, now here, what do we see? So here we are clear, like the public routes, what public route is doing. If the user, this is literally wrapping and securing that if the user is logged in, they won't be able to check the login and sign up page and so on. And if the user is not logged in, they won't be able to check all this, else they would be redirected to the home page. And this is a sort of home page. And again, here we have defined this index instead of path. So this is the same as defining path simple slash. So we have defined this index just for the better understanding and using different syntax from the documentation. So we get practiced on it. So we get our hands on. Now, okay, so in the authentication, now let's see what are we doing. So the index is login, right? And okay, okay. So here is something. Now, this authentication index, right? Now this index defined. So in the application, this is auth, and then the rest of the component, right? So rest of the component, there is something called first index, right? Like suppose only slash auth. slash. So this is the index. So the moment we hit there, this component about to be rendered, and here we held a component, something called navigate, the navigate, replace the user with login. So there is nothing on the home page. There is just nothing on the home route. So that's why we are just redirecting the user, sorry, replacing the user URL to the login. And here what is there in the login? And again, now notice here we have not, again we have used we haven't used certain syntax, like suppose auth slash something, like slash auth slash something. And again, we can use it, this is the same way as using right there, but we had decided to go with the component wise. And here this is the same as so here this component is rendering under this. So for this particular path, the parent path is already slash auth slash. So again, for the parent path is slash auth slash already. So what we need to send is just the path login, and that's it. And if we are moving forward and adding more path to this, then we can add it right here. That's all. So now for login, sign up, and restaurant, register restaurant and register restaurant. That's all. And there is something more to it, which is like star, and what this star defines. Okay, now let's understand. So this star is basically, if none of the above routes match, then this go to this star. Now if we add this route to the above, then for the as you know, JavaScript goes from front to back. So this will return not found always, because everything else is a star, right? But why we added this in the last? Because if none of the above goes right, none of the above gets matched, suppose their thread is coming from above to down and it's checking the index, then it goes to this. If this matches with this or this and so on, right, then it will just render that particular component. And if it does not, then it goes back below, come down to below. Then it sees for star, like for anything is there, like and so, anything, like suppose ABCD, like slash auth slash ABCD or anything, it will just render this not found, and that's all. So this not found, we have added a simple component, which is this, the not found component. We have added a sort of a div where we are just saying feeling lost, then a short, router link we have added to go back, and we are redirecting the user to the route page, and class name unlinked, we are coming back to that. So that's all our note for not found page is. We are going to see that in a while. But now, okay, whatever we are just in theory, what we are understanding here, we have already demonstrated all this, and I have just created a sort of a pattern, and we have used the same thing in many places. Like suppose if you see in the in here routes, we are just elementing, we have decided to segregate this with authentication and in our entire secured application. Now authentication is the different thing. So we have implemented all of this all together. Now in this secured application, now there is a lot of more to come. Please, how do we okay, so okay. So there is a lot of things in the secured application. Why? Because in secured application, if you see, there are different components for different users. Like suppose if the user gets logged in, as we can see here, if the user gets logged in, then what do we do? Firstly, we need to check if the user is the user, if the user is admin, or if the user is the restaurant owner. Then we redirect them to the particular route for their to manage their own homepage. So we don't have something like a homepage. If you go to the homepage, there is something called launching, and then again it is redirecting to the corresponding based on the logged in user. So let's see how is it happening. So firstly, if the user is logged in, then it is getting redirected to the home page, right? So let's understand in this home page what is happening. Okay, so here is a short of okay. So now if the user is in the global storage, in the global variable, then in the use effect for this particular home page, in the home page, again in the home page, we have added this functionalities. What is it? If in the global store, in the global state, the user does not exist, then this means the user is to logged in. Then we are just redirecting them to the user logged in. And again, this is not needed to be done from here because we have already secured the application. But again, if in case they does not exist, because in the secure application, if you see, if we go to the authentication, And this secure application is checking based on the local storage, like based on the local storage. Now suppose this user is there in the user is there in the local storage, but not in our not in our global state, not in our global state. Then we are allowing them to go back to the login page. And from where is it coming on? As we have already seen in the entire application, we have got a log it. We are just adding we are dispatching the user and setting to the global storage in the wrapper of our application only. So it's safe. But again, we need to, as much as security layer there should be, we are going to add it. And then here is the functionalities from homepage. We are based on the user we are defining. Now, the user object has role that we have already defined from the backend, right? And the user is coming from the token. After decrypting that token, we are getting the user object, and that user object has the role. And we are just checking if the user role is role.admin. Let's see from where this role is coming on. So in utils, I have added a constant where the same constant which we are just adding from the backend. So backend we have added like the admin should be 2, restaurant should be 1, and the user should be 0. So we have added the same constant right here, and based on that, role should be if the role is admin. So user role, if the user role is admin, which is actually 2, then navigate them to the admin page. Simple. From the home page, navigate them to the admin page. Now, if the user role is restaurant, then navigate them to the restaurant page. If the user, then user page, and that's it. And until this is happening, we are just rendering launching. That's all. So here we can add as sort of a loader or something, but that's fine. And this is happening every time there is a sort of a dependency. If the user dependency is this, like if the global is in the global state, if the user is going to be changed, then this will affect like the home page will, in the home page this will run if we are on the home page, or if from somewhere else we are redirecting them to the home page, then if the user does not exist, this will redirect to the login page, else again to the corresponding route. So there's a lot of thing right here. Now let's go back to our secure app, and there's a lot of things coming on to the module wise. So after this module, we'll pick a short of a question. I know you must have some, and if you do not have, I think you are not focused in the class again. So in the secure application, I have just told we have different user, right? So if the user is redirecting to the login page, then here we are handling that admin slash star. So anything just after that admin, and admin index should go to the admin. Now let's go to the admin and let's see what's happening there. So there is again a sort of a route, which in index we are saying hello admin, which is here, and so and of course not found page is there. So if not found page is there, then let me just show you not found page from here. Like suppose slash. So in slash there is something called index, and except index there is no other page, right? So we can just type ABC or PSE or whatsoever. Then it is some there is a sort of 404 page or not found page. Here we are saying simply like feeling lost, just go home. And if you tap to the go home, it will go back to the home page, and based on I'm going to go home page. From home page, based on that user, we are redirecting them to the admin or whatsoever page again. So there's a not found page. Now again, so here, if you see in the secured app, we have added the same pattern of securities and routes, even on the different modules, like different modules, admin route. Now, why do we add it? Let's go to the admin route. Your query should be clear. So in admin route, here what we are doing. So if the current user dot role, like the current user is returning that user, right? If the current user dot role is there, sorry, if the current user dot role is not equal to admin, then just navigate the user to the home page, else children. So this is again a sort of a security reason. Suppose there is an admin page, right? And we don't want any restaurant owner or any general user to type the slash admin and to redirect them to the general user because they are logged in. We want to check what kind of user is logged in, right? Then we want to redirect them to the front end admin page, else of course they won't be able to fetch the data. But still we don't want them to even see, we don't want the admin page to be visible visible or for all of them, right? We don't want that. That's why we are going to add this security for the admin again. And not only for the admin, also for the restaurant. Like suppose if you go to the restaurant one, so there's a restaurant route, and the restaurant route, and in the restaurant routes, there is something not like this. In the restaurant route, the same way, we are just checking with the role. If the restaurant, then just do this. And again, for the same is the user. If the user, like if the role is user, then we are going to check. So all of these are segregated for different user base, and which is secured for the particular users, right? And so this is the security stuff. And for the, and here, like suppose if you're going to add any page on the admin, we are going to add it here based on the modules and so on. Okay, so a lot of stuff now till here. I am hoping you to have a hell lot of questions here, because we are not coding, we are just going by theories with all of these codes. So of course you will get this code on your hand, and then you can play around and see what is actually behind and create your own flow right this. So this is the industry standard what we are going to use here. So if you have any queries, you can just comment it down, you can just throw it down on the chat box, we can pick it up. Okay, seems like not much of you have many queries or no queries. Really, no one have any queries. This one is going over my head. Of course, this is going to go over your head because there's a lot of things we are combining all together. It's fine. You need to go through the codes, and we are hoping to understand. Actually, we are far behind from what we had already decided to go through. That's why I had to do all this stuff all together. Because if I would have done this like one by one and going through the syntaxes that we had already covered it up, then it would have taken more time. That's why I decided to do like this. Okay. All confusing, my goodness. Okay, let's pick one by one. Let's pick one by one. Okay, so we'll go through again. This is consider this as just short of a demo, a short of a go through flow. And the moment we are going to code in all along, then we'll again understand all those syntax and all those flow again, and then we'll move forward while coding for the every individual modules. So for now, let's understand how the login stuff is working. And of course, the toaster we are going to use. So there's something called React Toastify. This. So this is the module we are going to use in our application. This simply adds this pretty uh, notification bar, which helps to, you know, put our error and pop-up short of dialogue and all. So this is very easy. We are just going to use this. So we are going to install this React Toastify, and they have two different components. First is the React Toast container and the toast itself. And we are going to add this, right? So where we have added this, let's see in the, I have added this in the index. So in index, I have added their CSS. So everything else work on from their side. And then they have two stuff. First is the React container, and second is this toast. So this React container needs to be the on the application itself, like this. It's a simple component that we need to add. And of course, you need to, if you want to modify something, you can add as in properties. So we have added that in our application right here. So we have added this text container. I have added I have like added a few uh, customizations, like progressive bar should be hidden, transition should be flipped, auto close 3 second, position should be bottom right, and theme should be dark. That's all. So you can go through the documentation, of course, and understand what these stuff are. Just to make it a bit more prettier, but this is not the motive of our code. This is just to make it a bit more pretty. And then text container, right? That's all we are going to add, the text container and in the entire application. And now wherever we want to rise a sort of a notification, we can just call this one toast. That's it. And they have not added much here. This toast, right? And let's understand how this toast works. Like again, this text container we are going to add in our application, which we have added, and from wherever we want to rise any notification or something, we are calling this toast from React Toastify. That's all from this one. So here in index, now let's go to our login page. Now in login page, we're calling it sign in, or we can also call it login or whatsoever. Let's call it login because our folder is login. Good. Okay. Now in the login, what we have done is this is handle submit. Now, lastly, what we were doing is we were just simply using the, we were simply just trying to log in with our API and returning this, like redirecting the user and so on, right? But for now, we have added a couple of more stuff here. Let's go through all of this. So here is something. Now, last time what we had added, we added something called handle change, right? Now we have removed it and I've researched a bit, and even on the last code, I have used this, but I forgot to use this time. So which is like, we have converted this form as in form, and how we did that is, yes. So this MIUI, not MIUI, material UI has this component as in box, and they can get certain properties like this box, but how you want to use this box. So if you define in component form, so this box become the form, right? And that's all. Because that's why we have added this on submit, because this on submit is in the app form only. So you can consider this, that this is a form object and so on. So we have used this entire form in the form component, and then if and we had added this on submit to the submit, and again on button. Where is the button? Button. Okay, and in button, oh, there's a different one. Yes, in button we have just added type submit, and that's it. And this form and the button is, of course, under this form component. Now here, this handle submit is handling everything. Now this event was previously, this event was returning the target. Like suppose this event was coming from every single component, like from the input field and so on, right? But this time this event is returning, getting returned from the form itself. So the form has current target, and this current target includes all of the fields, like including all of the like phone, password, and so on. And we are using object, not this time. We are using object.form entries, and object has many values. Like suppose if you want to play with the object, and there are many more stuff which belongs to JavaScript. In advance, you are going to work with this object multiple times. So in this object has a method which is form entries, and in this form entries, we can send this form data, and this will just return the same object that we were collecting last time with user state and e target dot value and so on. So this made it very easy, because for this two line saved us to use one more state, like user state hook, and also the handle change for every particular input field. So this has saved. Now we have optimized. Now we are just sending this particular data to our API. Here we go, to our API. And then if the user, if there is no data, like the user does not exist or whatsoever, then we are simply returning toast error, unable to log in. And if you see, we have also added a handle error wrapper, which is a component, and let's see what is happening there. So handle error is simply a sort of a component where we are getting this error. And if the error response is there, and error response status is 400, 401, 403, and 409, because these are the status we are going to send from our backend. If these are the error types, then of course we can optimize this like from 400 to 500 or so on. If these are the error types, then it means we are sending from the backend, and then we can just add it right away. We are sending this, we are raising this toast error with the error response data message, because from backend we are also sending the message that why this was not uh, why we got this error and so on. And if it does not exist, then we are simply just logging the error and then returning toast error by default message that server is issue that we just got in the beginning while logging in because our server was not running on behind. So we have created this handle error because we don't want to rise these response error again and again, right? So we have just wrapped it up, and anytime we get any catch error, then we just send it to this component, and this will handle all along. Now here, this is how we are going to handle. So now I know you on the documentation, they had like something like toast. So if you're using only toast, then toast has only by default by default design, but they also have multiple designs. Like suppose they have error. Yes, they have error, success, and now they have multi more info. So they have many more stuff which we can use. Like suppose if you are adding this error, then they give a sort of a reddish error, if success green error, and so on, and you will see in a while. So and suppose and the you and where is this user coming from? So this user data, like from the backend, whatever data we are sending, that has three parameters: success, data, and message, right? So that data has this user data. So we are extracting this user, and simply that user has a token. So understand, while logging in, we are using this local storage set item, and we are saving this token from user token. So again, we in the login page, if we are getting successfully login, we are getting the token, and we are just saving that token in our local storage. Again, we are saving that token in our local storage because you are going to use this multiple times. And then also we are going to dispatch the action set user, like the type action set user and user. So this is same as this. So this code, like we are sending the user with this user object, but in JavaScript, if the property and the value name is same and the value is something like a variable, then we can just send it like this. Again, more optimization on JavaScript. So we are dispatching like, and we are also, so we are setting this in the local storage. While logging in, we are saving the user to the local storage and also to the global variable. And we are just raising a toast that's successfully logged in, and we are navigating to the user to the home page. And again, if you see here, we are adding replace true. So while we were using the navigate component, we are just adding a replace property. But here we are adding a second parameter with an object with replace true, and that's all. So this will, as I told, the security reason, we need to replace the login page and so on. Okay, that's pretty much it. If you have any queries, you can anytime comment it down and we can take it forward. Sir, can you please go just the way we were doing in previous classes? Okay. Okay, Anvisha, what happened is, when we were a bit slow, not a bit, actually mostly we slow because we had covered 11 days, but I was still in the basic because we were explaining all the basic syntax and all. And this is the same reason we had discussed on the very first class, if you guys remember. I asked you like how many days shall it take to get a good grasp on MERN stack? Because here we are not learning only one stack or something. Like I think we should have had class yesterday too, maybe. No, there was no class on yesterday. There was no class. I guess yesterday was Sunday, so we decided to just pop down. Anyway, so on the first class only, we decided like we had discussed like how many time it's gonna take, right? So and most of you only said that it's going to take at least 2 months, but here we are trying to cover all of this stuff in 15 days. Now see, try to understand this. I can skip many more stuff. Like there are multiple stuff that I can just skip or just go to the fundamentals. Like suppose as we like in the till the last class, what we have done, we have not designed it properly, and our structured and everything was not so proper. So all of this stuff is not industry standard, and this is what we are moving forward right now. Is it now? So we don't want to make it too long for you guys. That's why I decided to make it all along. And again, these are not something new. We have used the same way maybe and again, this is I can understand for you as beginner it might be a bit conflict because we have used the same way with the different types, and we have added more files, more structures, and so on. But again, you have to have patience and get a sort of grasp on this. That is for now. In short time, I think this is the only way to learn for now. And again, I'm there if anytime, in not only, we are not only limited to this boot camp only. Even after this boot camp, if you're getting any error, if you're getting any problem or something, I'm always there to help you out. We can just discuss more on that. We can discuss on how we can structure more and so on. It's taking a bit long because of lack of basic knowledge. Yes, understand exactly. The basic knowledge should be there. No, if suppose if most of you would have already interacted with React and Node, then again, I would have just went through that how it should be in the industry level applications, right? But now I'm trying to help you with the basic knowledge, and also we are creating the industry standard level application with the structures and everything. So it's taking a bit more knowledge, a bit more time. But just have patience. It's fine. If you go through this code by yourself, then you are going to get grasp on this. And if even if you're not, I'm there to help you out. Just ask as many questions as you have, as many questions as you have, like even what is this prevent default doing, what is this line doing, what is this line doing, how we are structuring this, and so on. Just ask your queries. No, if I would have been in your place, I would have I had so many questions. You have no idea. I have so many questions. Like I literally used to mail my mentors to get it cleared, like literally get it cleared. And even I remember sometimes I had my mentor on the meet just to make my doubts clear and make it more forward, because I was very clear on my mind that I'm here to learn. I'm not here to just for anything else, I'm here to learn in the sense like whatever I'm learning, if I'm getting certain opportunity to learn something from this kind of experience, guys, then of course I'm just going to grasp every single drop of it. I'm going to utilize this. I'm not going to, I mean, if I'm investing my time, I need to get something out of this, right? So that's why I had in my mind. So if you also have this, you can just ask as many questions as you can. I'm there to help you out with this. We understand. I'll go through the code and let you know. Yes, of course. And again, most of you are not most of you, some of you are asking some of you are trying to clear your queries on like DM only, but don't just DM. If you want to ask your question, ask on the Telegram group. Be free to ask right there, because for your questions, even other people would, would be clear. Like, okay, if this is happening, then this should be done. So just learn all together. We are not alone here, and that's all. So now in login, what we are doing, okay, let's get back to the class. And login, what we are doing, we are just saving this to our local storage and also to the global variable, right? So that's all. Now let's log in with the admin, and you see there's a sort of notification. We can also drag it and so on. So this looks a bit fancy, and if you see, this is a green tick sign. If this would have been error, it would have a red exclamation sign, but this looks good. And there is also a cross button to it. You can drag it. So it's also mobile friendly and so on. And this also has a sort of animation like flip, which also looks good, which I've added anyway. Now looks good. Okay, now we're clear from login to the home page. Now what we need to focus on is creating the admin fundamentals, right? So where do we add our components? Like if you see the application, we have all these like home page, login page, knock on, and so on, sign up and so on. So in home page, we have only this one, right? And if you see the route, in the routes, in the secure application, so this admin, restaurant, and so on. So we have this admin route, and in admin route, we are just directly rendering this, right? Cool. Now here we should have a different compo module for different one. For now, let's just add maybe admin, and this admin would have something called index.js, because that's going to be the home page for this. And then if we are going to have multiple pages, we can add it right away. But for now, let's design this a bit. So const admin uh, component, which we are going to render in a while. And here just code default admin. Okay, so this is our small component, and the same thing we can just do here. Return maybe heading 1. Welcome admin. That's all. Now we can import this to our admin route here. So this should come on import admin from application admin, and that's all. And now this admin is okay. Now if you see, we have already defined this admin here because this is admin route, and here this is something else. This is our actual home page. Then what we can do is we can just rename this one. If we want to import this as admin as admin home. Okay, so the syntax is not working. This as should work anyway. Okay, this is not working. There should be a certain syntax which import this as this should work. Admin route. No, I didn't say that. Okay, so for now, clear this one. True admin route. And we are importing this by default, so it should be fine. And now it says MP route has already been declared. Oh, admin route also has been declared. So we cannot do that. What we can do that is admin home. We can keep this as admin home. This looks good. Okay, so we have the same thing at welcome admin. Now we have added this admin home component in the admin route. Now let's work with it. So here, what do we want to do? Firstly, let's understand what functionalities we decided to keep. Okay, so what functionalities we decided to keep for the admin route. Now here is one more task for you. So what you need to create is in admin route, again, don't worry, I'm not going to create it anymore. If you are going to create it, that's fine. If you're not, tomorrow we are going to start from the same code we have. We are just leaving it here. And what do we have? We need to add a sort of maybe a welcome admin, a bit fancy, and then a list of restaurants and a toggle. So if you go to the material UI, then you would have all this by yourself. So get started. And if you see the component they have some component called switch, I guess. So switch. So you can load all those lists. So they have something called switch, and the switch would be working with the API of activating and deactivating. And again, if you go back to, and again, you have to code this in our backend again. As I told you, we are going to come back to our backend and we are going to move forward with it. So in modules, we have nothing if you see, but in models, suppose in the restaurants, we have. So what we are doing in restaurants, we have only create this body, right? But we are going to add one more stuff, which is going to be get. And this get is basically find all the list. So this, what is this doing? This is simply get. We are not even expecting any body. Get is simply returning restaurant.find all the restaurant body. That's all the restaurant list that we have in our database. Now, if we go back to our restaurant and controller, router is the shortcut. So in restaurant uh, router, we have only one sign up. So we need to add one more, which is export dot get Yes, get is enough. And in async, we have something like request response, and we are going to return something. So here what we are doing, if we are getting the request, then we are just return, or instead of returning, we can define this here and await the restaurant dot get. No, actually we have to define this in curly braces because we need to const restaurant this. Okay. What am I missing? Exports. Come on. So exports get. Now we are getting the restaurant, and we are also going to handle match. If we are getting any error, simply return an object with status false. Um, no, success false. Success false. Status got some conflict, and message unable to string unable to get restaurants, or maybe a restaurant, unable to get restaurant. And this is what we are returning if we are getting any error. So this should be again covered with this. So this is returning, and if we get this, then just return the same object with something different to it, true or 200. Closed successfully. Uh, okay, so that's pretty much it. Now, through this get, we are going to get all this. Now let's go to our postman and try to fetch all the restaurants that we have. Duplicate, rename restaurant, and this get restaurant. Now we also need to add this in the route. This get. Now let's go to our route, and route, let's clone it. And we don't need any validator because this is going to be get, and then here just controller dot get, and this should be the home page. Perfect. So here, if you ask for the restaurants as in get, is anything goes wrong here? No, it does not. And here, oh, sorry, I'm just returning it, but I need to send it in response. So this should be response dot status 409 and dot send this one like this without status. And the same thing here, response dot status, which is going to be 200. And send this particular object without status. Look, something goes wrong. status dot send. Okay, now you're sending this response. Now let's check if we get some restaurants. Yes. Now in data, we have the array as in list of the restaurants, and in list we have this restaurants. Now if you see, this is status is false, right? So tomorrow we'll be working on the admin front end, and we'll be retrieving this restaurant list. And also, moreover, we also will be creating a route to update this status, like from status false to true. And then those restaurants only would be available to create their own category and so on. And even the, everything else, like suppose if the restaurant is not successful, if the restaurant is not approved from the Zomato or the admin, then they won't be able to create any category or something, right? Again, we'll be handling that on the front end side, but for now this is what we are going to create. So there should be no indicate restaurant. Uh, okay, cool. That looks good. So I'll be also pushing this, both of this code to the Git, and then you can just go through all this code. And of course, I know you might have many queries because you're not getting much. So go and get all these queries and just write it down, hundreds, thousands. It really doesn't matter. If you want to learn, I know you can ask your queries and get it clear by yourself. So I'm there to help you out. If you don't utilize me to make yourself a better coder, or maybe whatever you are trying to be after this boot camp and so on, maybe to boost up your career and so on, I'm there to help you out. So if you do not utilize me, you are losing something. So that's on your side. It's not mine. If you're not utilizing me, you are saving my time on the other side. That's all for today. So where is our host? We can take it forward. And if you have any queries, you can comment it down even now.
Thank you, sir, for such an amazing and informative session. It was very well taught of. Surely our students have learned the concepts in a way better way, and they are really enlightened. So now we'll go ahead and take some queries if we have any, and we would also love and like to listen your experiences from your assignment task or anything from this journey.
Yes. Thank you. We need your input more than appreciation. Please understand this.
Indeed, because learning is always a process and it should be both ways. So you really need to put in an extra effort to go that extra mile. So we would love to hear your queries, anything you want to share, something about your assignments, your journey. Please go on.
Yes, of course, you can complete your project on raw HTML and CSS, because that's how I want you to create. It's not like you have to create such components. We are using Material UI just to, go forward and not to use much CSS code here. But on your side, of course, I want you to use HTML and CSS on the other side, not to use Material UI. It's absolutely fine. Assignment, because I have disconnected your internet. Okay, assignment is like you can create your, of course, I have pushed the code. You can just get it on your local machine and uh, create the admin page where we would be retrieving all the restaurants, and if possible, also create a logout button. So now you know how we are logging in, how we are logging out, and trying to understand how login functionalities are working. Just do the opposite and make a logout function and a simple button on the admin page. On the admin homepage, just create a button, log out, and add the functionalities that how it's working, how the logout is working. And that's pretty much it.
Dear attendees, we have shared a feedback link in the chat box. Kindly fill in the feedback as well as the attendance form. Anything else, sir, you want to add on to this
Uh,
session before we wrap up?
no, Tanvi, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure, sir. All right, then. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. And that's all for tonight. This was day 12 of 15 days MERN Stack Bootcamp organized by Geeks for Geeks in collaboration with Skillsville. We'll see you next time. Till then, follow us on Instagram for your daily updates and do join our official Telegram link of the group is dropped in the chat box. And for any further queries, you can drop us a mail at geeksforgeeks@lpu.co.in. This is your host, Tanvi, signing off for the day. Have a great time ahead.